Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is another edition of South Texas News and Reviews. This is Sunday, September 28th, 2014. My name is Gerald Sansing. I'm the producer and the reporter. I'm all by myself again. Eddie Flores is running his fanny off trying to make a living. So I'm going to turn the lights on and get this camera set, and I'll be right back with you. Lights on, ladies and gentlemen. Got to have those lights. Anyway, I'm going to go take my seat. I think everything's adjusted. And we shall begin with what I hope will be some enlightening information for you fine folks. We're coming into the political season big time at this stage of the game. We've got roughly about 5 weeks, or maybe a little bit less, ready to go until election time. And I'd like to make some statements for the record. I am not speaking this evening as the chair of the Clean Economy Coalition in any manner for that organization. I would not ask them to vote on whether I should say things or not, other than what we believe as an organization, not my political views necessarily. So I'm not talking as president of the Corpus Christi Taxpayers Association. That's a non-profit. We're 501c3, and we do not endorse anyone. On October the 4th, which will be after this airs, actually, or before that this airs, we're going to have some politicians that are going to come to the general membership meeting on October the 4th. It's going to be at the Silverado Smokehouse, Galahar and Weber at 2 o'clock, and I'll give you an update on the activities there. But I'm not speaking for the Taxpayers Association. I'm speaking for myself as a taxpayer and free American, and whose family has fought for freedom of speech since the 1700s. So I would like to say that this has nothing to do with my association with Del Mar College. I'm not filming this with any college equipment, money, fees, whatever. This is my own. This is in my own dining area at home, and as most of you have figured out. So this has nothing to do with on campus or my association with Del Mar College, except I am a taxpayer in the district, and I am an employee at Del Mar College, but I'm speaking for myself. Okay? So I want to make that perfectly clear, because after it was found out that a good friend of mine, Ed Bennett, who by the way is running for the at-large Del Mar College Board of Regents this go-around, the man is a CPA, okay, got a master's degree, and he wants to keep an eye on Del Mar money. And I'll go into, I think I've said on numerous occasions, the horrible way that his wife, Dr. Janelle Bennett, a professor of nursing out at Del Mar College, was treated at the beck and call of some of her constituents, her peer group out there. I mean, it was a tragedy, folks. And Mr. Bennett wants to, as a taxpayer, keep an eye on what Del Mar College is doing with money. I'm going to talk about a few of the problems that we've got over there. And I think Channel 5 has recently, Channel 6, excuse me, local TV channel has exposed a bunch of shenanigans that are going on at Del Mar College, and there's more to come, believe me. So I'm going to back Ed Bennett, good friend, very honest individual, CPA. He knows what he's doing with his master's degree and so forth, and accounting courses and so forth. So please keep that in mind. That's Edward Bennett for the Del Mar College Regent at large, one of the two at-large positions. And if you need to get a hold of anything, then all you have to do is just put Ed at, Ed for delmarregent.com. Okay? So anyway, we'll give you that in a minute. It's kind of red here. So Del Mar Regent, yeah. All right. So he's there if you need to talk to him and so forth, and we can arrange any meetings if you'd like before October or November the 4th. Then I want to reiterate, I got a letter. It was out to DMC All, they call it, as everybody at Del Mar College, employees and so forth and so on, from President Escamilla. And he says that you can't support any candidate for political position and elected officials during work hours at Del Mar College. You can't use the college property. I don't know of anybody that would, except Del Mar. They're using their advertising dollars and all to push their bond, which is I think a political event. And then the government regulations say, you can't, if you have to do anything as a elected official or candidate or whatever, then you've got to go through the executive director of strategic communication and government relations. That's Claudia Jackson, Mrs. Jackson over there, and she's the person directly responsible for that on the President's Public Relations Committee. So if you have to or want to do anything with that, then go over and talk to Ms. Jackson. And then I'm concerned, as are several other people, about the slide of Del Mar College over the years I've been here into academic mediocrity. I think we need to shake everybody up over there, get a few things done, and get back to the process of educating people and not just running a driving school over there for 18-wheelers and so forth. We need to get back to straight academics. And I've got a lot of students who are real upset with the advice they're getting from certain people at Del Mar College regarding their what they need to do, when, where, and how. And I'll address that. Students are red hot mad there, Dr. Escamilla, and they're flocking out to the island in droves, if you know what I mean. And as our enrollment slides into the toilet, so to speak. Okay? We've lost a lot of students, and if you want to sit down and talk about it, I think I've tried before. And someone said just 2 or 3 days ago that I need to extend my hand back to you on some other matters that I'm going to discuss in here. And I said I'm real reluctant to do that anymore. And I'm just going to put that out in the public. I supported you very heavily in the beginning, tried to inform you of certain things. As far as I can tell, you do listen, but you don't take much stock in what I say, because things never seem to get any better over there. So I've given up. So I told that person, I said, I've extended my hand out so many times, and it's been bit by you over there, that I've got my arm and my hand and arm missing up to my elbow. So I'm not inclined to go over there and share any more problems with you. Your administrators don't give you an update, I don't think. Either that or you're not listening over there. So there's not much I can do, Dr. Escamilla, to help you out anymore. I tried and I tried, but that doesn't seem to do any good. Now, one instance I've got here, I just emailed Dr. Escamilla this morning with my disgust with a certain thing that's going on over there. Now, we have a building, it's the BR for Buddy R. Venner's business building. On the 3rd floor, there are 3 spaces up there that are inundated with mold. It blows out of the air conditioning diffusers, and the mold grows in those air conditioning ducts. And the women that have to go up there and work have instant allergic reactions to their workplace up there. And one of them was out all week this week with upper respiratory infections. And that's due to sitting there coughing and hacking and so forth in the middle of that allergenic rich atmosphere up there. Now, I presented that to Dr. Escamilla several months ago, and he indicated he was going to take care of the matter. He immediately went down to the HR person, one Mrs. Tammy McDonald, and then it was put out that if the women had any problems, they needed to go take their time off and go over to the HR building and talk to Mrs. McDonald. She wasn't about to go over there, which I think is in poor taste and not a very prudent thing to do as the executive director of human resources. Okay? Now, the Del Mar College board policies indicate, and my contract indicates, that I will be provided with a safe and environment in which to work, okay, and healthy environment. Folks, when people walk into an office and open the door and immediately start coughing and sneezing and so forth and so on, eyes running, eyes burning, that's not a healthy and safe workplace. I can guarantee you that. Now, another thing that I have provided Dr. Escamilla with was a resume. And I had one of the faculty members the other day who I had done some work with during the mold heydays. And mold and bacteria and so forth, folks, has been my livelihood. I grew up in graduate school producing toxins for cancer research people and so forth. The toxins from certain molds and so forth are carcinogenic. That means they can produce cancer if you ingest food that's been molded up by certain of those critters. Okay, so I know what I'm doing. And when I was here and the mold hit, I was tracked down through my research days and in the past, and somebody said, "Oh, he is down there in Corpus Christi." They were trying to get a hold of me to send me samples from anywhere in the country in order to test them out and figure out what the organisms were, okay, and whether they are toxic or not, and how they can clean up the mess. So that is my background and expertise. Now, we have a vice president, now he's a CFO, who doesn't think I know what the hell I'm doing, and that's fine. Ignorance is bliss. It must be. But anyway, I requested on September 4th a list of any and all environmental testing that went on, air quality testing or surface testing. Like I say, I took samples from the desktops of these people over there, and I should bring a few pictures of the mold that grew out from that. Now, what you have are these particle balls, some of them up to about 1/4 of an inch in diameter, blowing out of that air conditioning system up there, the air conditioning duct through the diffuser. And it blows everywhere. A lot of times in the mornings you go up there and the tabletops and benches and so forth are coated with that stuff. Excuse me. Now, so I tested that as well as the air quality over there. And it's a mess. Now, I've asked for I was told by Dr. Escamilla that they would have some air testing done over there and find out how to make it safe for those women so they don't have to suffer severely during the day at the hands of a poor air conditioning system up there. So I asked for that, and I had it date stamped by the President's office at 8:47 a.m. on September the 4th, 2014. And I said, through my rights under the Texas Public Information Act, and then I give the government code number, I'm hereby requesting that a time, location, and date, I said preferably early on a Friday morning, I've got classes throughout the days, Monday through Thursday, be established for my inspection of any and all documents, emails, notes, telephone calls, audio recordings, or video recordings pertaining to the following items and subjects. Okay, I am requesting the ability to review any and all documents pertaining to any and all environmental tests and reports, and in parentheses, air quality tests, surface tests, etc., conducted in or on the B.R. Venters Business Building, Del Mar College East Campus, Corpus Christi, Texas, between September 1, 2013, and the date of this request. And then I said I'm requesting documents related to the qualifications of any and all environmental testing companies that have worked on the B.R. Venters Business Building, okay, between September 1, 2013, and the date of this request, which was September 4th, 2014. And then I want us to review any contracts and so forth, okay? So I want to know, and then the contracts should include the Texas license numbers of the certified environmental testing company, in addition to any charges made by any said environmental testing. So I want to know how much they charge Del Mar College. Now, I was due a response according to the laws and regulations of the Texas Public Information Act request, Open Records Division of the AG's office, by September the 18th, 2014. It's the 28th today, ladies and gentlemen, and I have had absolutely no response to this, which puts them into non-compliance with the rules and regulations of the Attorney General's office. Now, what will probably happen when they find out that I've done this is I'm going to get this thing, oh, we're sorry, we mailed it to you, but I guess it didn't make it, so we're going to remail the information. Or they're going to have an attorney say that I can't have any of those documents, I can't review those because of some silly law somewhere. I'm sure that it's going to be a real, nothing that I haven't seen before, but it's going to be a real, twist of what the truth actually is. So, I'm so sick and tired of Del Mar College and its administrators over there. Mrs. McDonald, and I guess the president's involved in it. I hope he's paying attention to what his people are doing and not doing. But I guess what I'm going to have to do is call the AG's office. Now, another thing that happened is those women suffer, folks, and it is a tragedy. And I'm just going to say it on the air. If that was Mrs. McDonald's relative or kid or husband or whatever over there, or if it was one of Dr. Escamilla's family members, that air conditioning duct would have been taken out of there a long time ago and that problem solved. But it's my personal and professional opinion that Del Mar College doesn't give a damn about the health and welfare of its employees. Now, another thing that happens in one of the ladies' office, when students go in there, she's coughing uncontrollably because of whatever's in the atmosphere up there, and so the students start coughing and sneezing. So there's something there, and what they're doing, this brilliant CFO, who's the ultimate microbiologist and medical professional of the universe, Dr. Lee Sloan, with his EDD degree in agricultural education, then he says that somebody went in there and looked at it, and there's a planter down in the atrium that had 5 potted plants in there, and they had just replaced all the gravel in there a while back, and someone had told them that that's the source of the mold. Now, if that were the source of the mold, it would be in every room and on all 3 floors of that building. So why is it just in that one place upstairs where the air conditioning vent is blowing out balls, fungal balls and dust balls and big wads of crap all over the place? I mean, I think a kindergarten student could figure that one out, okay? So I'm just disgusted with the whole thing over there, and I'm so sick and tired of having people try to, keep information from me. Now, another thing I did last year in August is I had a big stack, 5-foot stack of Public Information Act request material, and then none of that was redacted, which means the students' names taken off of it and so forth and so on. And I wasn't too concerned about which particular student did what, and I don't, having a student's ID number doesn't do me a bit of good, even if I were the worst of thieves, which I'm not. But I can't believe that when I asked for an update of that information, then they said that they had to go through 2,500 and something documents and print them out and then redact those and pay a person to sit there and take the names and stuff of it out and, hold me up forever. Now, I made that request back in May, and I still have not seen that information. I've just been threatened or just told that it's going to cost me $641 and some odd cents to go ahead and have them produce those documents, okay? And the rest of them, I guess they would be available if I push the issue. And then they said if I don't respond and pay the money or do whatever I was going to do with it within 10 days, then I've lost my privilege to do that. Well, I blew the whistle on them with the AG's office on that, and the AG's office is real concerned. Now, in addition to what I found out with the $185,000 write-offs that I found in the first go-around that were just written off, and I was told by the CFO in a workshop meeting that the college had made every attempt to try to validly recoup that money and get people to pay it off, and I didn't see any evidence that they'd ever written letters to any of those people. Now, when we went back over there, we meaning Ed Bennett and myself, then another thing that Mr. Bennett did as a result of all those write-offs, he asked to see the general ledger entries and so forth for 10 years over there at Del Mar College. He gets a letter from Tammy McDonald stating that if he wants to see those, it's going to take, I don't remember how many years for them to get that paperwork done. And then they gave an outrageous number of hours to be billed, like 2,500 hours at $15 an hour for the work. And there were 105 million documents that had to be printed out so that they could go through and redact those and so forth and so on. And the total bill for all of that madness was, are you sitting down, folks? This is the second time I've said it. It's $26.7 million with an M, million. Okay? Now that is outrageous. So what happened was, I just happened to know a reporter at Channel 6, Mr. Spurl. So I called him up and I said, Rick, are you sitting down? And told him about that, and he hit the ceiling. He said, that's outrageous. So he ran 3 consecutive reports on a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of last week on that situation. And then it was pointed out by the Freedom of Information Foundation person up in Austin that since that's such an outrageous amount of money and could not be justified, that if Mr. Bennett had paid the $26.7 million, then he could have asked for treble damages, and that would have meant that the taxpayers would have had to pay all that money back, plus 3 times the amount of money, which is roughly, my calculation would probably be around $80 million of your hard taxpayers' money. And then all of a sudden, when that was red flagged on the air, with Channel 6 News, then all of a sudden the PR person at Del Mar College was on the air saying, oh, that was obviously a mistake, mathematical mistake. And the reporter kept asking her, and she said, how many more times do I have to explain to you that was a mathematical mistake? And now I guess what's going to happen is the college board attorney, Mr. Augustin Rivera, wants to sit down with Mr. Bennett and find out what it's going to take to get that information. And I'm going to be present for that. This is going to happen 2 or 3 days from now on a Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the Bizency boardroom. So if you see this on YouTube and you want to attend that, or if you see this on YouTube and you want to come to the Taxpayers Association meeting October the 4th at 2 o'clock, the Silverado Smokehouse at Gollihar and Weber, then you're welcome to come over there because a lot of this is going to be discussed. Okay? And I find it disgusting that this is what Del Mar College does. Okay? So the whole thing is just a ruse to keep billings from me. Now, since I've mentioned Dr. Augustin Rivera, then he's running for the 148th District Court judgeship, and I'll find that in a minute. But I also have a Public Information Act request. I've filed this several times, and I've asked for his billings. Now, the last time he billed the college for any of his services was November 26, 2013. So I've been asking for it, and all I get is there were no additional responsive documents past that date. Okay, so what are you trying to hide there, Del Mar College, through your attorney, board attorney, Mr. Augustin Rivera? I mean, seriously, what? Now, the attorneys polled on judges. This came out 2 days ago in the Caller Times. Local results of State Bar survey released. The members of the State Bar that are here in Corpus Christi, Texas, took all the candidates for political office as far as the attorneys go for district judges and county judges and so forth, and they voted on who they thought was the best. And I thought some of this was very revealing. If we have, let's see, where is Mr. Augie Rivera? Okay, District Judge, 148th Judicial District Court, Augustin Rivera Jr., 142 votes to Mr. Guy Watts' 64. Or the 142 was 64%, 80 votes for Mr. Williams is 36%. So I guess what they're trying to say is that the local attorneys around here prefer to have Augustin Rivera Jr. on the board rather than Mr. Williams. Now, I don't know that I want a district judge and have to go before a judge that would allow a private attorney to cover up a bunch of information. The reason I asked for his billing records is, folks, there should be at least a hint of what's going on during the time that he's consulting with the college administrators and Board of Regents members. Okay? Now, why they want to hold some of that stuff private and confidential, I don't know, because a lot of that is direct taxpayer information that needs to come out to find out what type of a job that administration and that Board of Regents is doing. Okay? And I think one of my big problems is I go to a lot of those board meetings when I can fit it into my schedule, and I have never heard any board member on the Del Mar College Board of Regents ask a pertinent question of any administrator concerning any of the accounting that's going on, spending of money, concoction of this, that, and the other. So I'm concerned about what's being covered up at Del Mar College. And those administrators and board members are getting away with murder by not indicating to me what Mr. Augustin Rivera Jr. is over there billing for. Okay? Now, some of it, if it's a personnel matter, is none of my business directly. And then they said that they wanted to hold the check that Jeanette Bennett finally negotiated, the amount of money after they had that kangaroo court to try to terminate her. Now it's called a retirement, I think. But they said that mediation and the money should remain totally confidential. And then I was reading the check ledgers that come out every month at the Board of Regents meetings at Del Mar College, and there it was. That I won't divulge the amount. You can look it up yourself. But there it was, a check written to Dr. Bennett and her attorney for a sizable chunk of money. Okay, and so what is that all about? And I don't know of any heads that rolled after people unjustly, and went after Janelle in that kangaroo court. And I still say that the faculty members that were on that dismissal hearing should be ashamed of themselves because they did not listen. Okay, and the 3 students that kicked it all up, none of the 3 of them went over there and testified in 6 days of hearings in front of that the faculty board and the administration and Cynthia Cano, who's the attorney for Del Mar College. Now, Augustin Rivera is the board's attorney, and he's over there all the time. And he's just not billing, folks. At least he's not billing through his company or himself. And if I find out he's running it through a third party somewhere, I'm going to come totally unglued, because what he's doing is he's withholding public information about what his activities are and what his billing rates are and what he's billing for. So I'm going to jump up and down and raise some hell about that. But let me go down through here since I'm talking about these politicians. 13th Court of Appeals, Doug Norman got 51%, and Dory Contreras Garza got 49%. Okay, that was the 13th Court of Appeals, place 6. District Judge of the 105th, Rose Mesa Harrison, got 54%. Jack Pulcher got 46%. Okay, I know Rose from Clean Economy Coalition and some other activities. I think she'd make a great person there. I don't know Jack Pulcher at all, so I'm going to not comment until I figure that one out. I just went over District Judge of the 148th, where apparently a lot of people like Olagi over there at 64% to Guy Williams 36%. District Judge of the 319th, David Stith, got 80%. Michelle Villarreal, I think it's Kuchta, got 20%. I've had not a real extensive association with David Stith, but I do know when I go down to the jury pool down there, he and Missy Maderi, Judge Maderi, would go in and talk to the crowd and really inform people as to what was going on, why, when, and how. So he's always trying to make that better down there, particularly for the pool of people who sit there for hours waiting to be appointed or not appointed to a jury. So my hat's off to Judge Stith. You know, you can just tell that he's worthy of that position. He's a fine individual. Nueces County Court at Law number 4, Mark Werner got 55%. Carlos Valdez got 45%. I would like to see Carlos Valdez get less than 5%. He's the one that was the city attorney when he went after the 5 of us who signed a bond to try to temporarily halt the demolition of the Memorial Coliseum. And consequently after that, I went and didn't want Chris Adler in, so I put my signs up, no Chris Adler and no Destination Bayfront. And I have to sit there and look at Trey McCampbell. Mr. McCampbell is the president of Del Mar College Board of Regents. And you know, I've got that picture of him over here looking at the count on No Destination Bayfront and Isaac. Okay, and then on the Nueces County Court at Law number 5, Melissa Madrigal was 52% and Timothy McCoy was 48%. I don't know either one of those individuals, so I'm not going to say what I'd like to see. Okay, I would like to see Rose Harrison make it through. I would like to see David Stith, and I would like to see Guy Williams back on the bench, and I'd like to see Mark Werner knock Carlos Valdez's socks off. And then as far as Melissa Madrigal, 52%, and Timothy McCoy, I don't know. And I think that Melissa Madrigal is Ray Madrigal's daughter, and unfortunately I haven't met her. Ray's a fine person as far as I'm concerned. So it's going to be interesting with those. And then we have another person that's going to be running for City Council. That's Carrie Robertson Myers, and I know that she's a great person. She's been on Clean Economy Coalition. She's very environmentally involved around here, and I think she's going to be speaking to the fact that the city, and with the real estate cartel members down there, the city council and mayor, are going to try to annex all that property out of Chapman Ranch so that they can build houses and encumber a bunch of money to run utilities and roads and streets out there for the sake of their builders who spend big money with their title companies and real estate buddies down there. And I'll speak to that in just a minute. But anyway, Carrie Robertson Myers, if you'll remember that one, if you're in her or she's in your district running for city council, she's not afraid to speak up. Okay. Let's see, Jack Gordy is running for the City Council District 3. So I've known Jack for years. I thought he was going to have to leave town, and he didn't. He essentially placed my name into a vote for the presidency to take over for him of the Taxpayers Association. And I know after knowing Joe O'Brien, who was president for a long time, and then Jack, that I've got some big shoes to fit and step up into with that one. So, but anyway, Jack is a very knowledgeable person about city matters and so forth, and I would like to have you really, in District 3, consider Jack for City Council. Okay, that's place number 3. All right, and then I've got another problem. Let me just bring this up. Now, one thing that bothers me is that wind farm out there at Chapman Ranch, okay? And let me tell you that I can't follow the logic on this. Now, this town has spent millions and millions of dollars trying to build a tourist trade downtown Corpus Christi. They meaning the real estate cartel and all their buddies, real estate buddies, are down there all the time trying to have buildings converted into condominiums and apartments and everything so that we can build a wonderful place right downtown for people to go and live. Now, during the time Las Brisas Energy Center was spending a whole lot of money advertising here, that was Carol Scott that was advertising, okay? She owns a public relations and a company. Her husband, Mark Scott, City Council, And the stunt they pulled during Las Brisas time is they had a vote down there or two at City Council about supporting Las Brisas Energy Center being built here. And knowing full well that his wife, Carol Scott, Mark Scott, voted to support Las Brisas. Now I think what he should have done is just recused himself on that vote, but since he's title company and he wants all that money downtown from all that development, then why not have your wife join in there too? Okay. And by the way, Carol Scott is running for the at-large spot on the Del Mar College Board of Regents, and that would be a disaster, folks. Okay. I think they're banking on making a lot of money with that $157 million that Del Mar is going for a bond election. Now, these are my personal opinions. Sue me if I'm wrong. I couldn't care less, but I just, I'm going to spit out what I think about all this. And if you've got professional politicians like that, man and wife, it frightens me. And I do want to throw out to all you educators with CCISD, since Carol Scott was the president of that board of trustees, CCISD, she's the one that went and had the 3-year teacher contracts reduced back down to 1 year, so they can just bump anybody in and out of there that they wanted. Okay, so Del Mar College faculty, staff, and so forth. I believe another thing that would happen if she got on the Del Mar College Board of Regents is we're going to see the contracts at Del Mar College dry up from year to year. There will be no tenure or tenure track positions, and they want to turn it into a Coastal Bend College, which is probably one of the worst administrations I've ever seen up there. Dr. Espinosa and her sister Julia Garcia. And you talk about nepotism, and I'll get into that. I've discussed it before. I just have some more horses to saddle here, so to speak. Now, I'm trying to figure out why the city council, our real estate cartel, supported building the Las Brisas Energy Center within a couple of miles of downtown, right there on the ship channel, and spew all of that particulate matter, smoke, and toxins, and so forth and so on out over the city, and not think that that would be an unsightly thing and squelch the downtown development. It never crossed their minds. Now what they're trying to do is annex that Chapman Ranch out there so that the power company, Apex, is unable to put up the wind turbines out there. Now that doesn't make any sense to me, because the justification for not wanting those wind turbines out there is they would be unsightly. Now, how unsightly could it be to have the tallest structures, 4 of them, called smokestacks, downtown Corpus Christi, belching smoke and doom and gloom and toxins and particulate matter, and then try to say, well, we're going to build that for tourists. They're going to flock in here because of this beautiful bayfront. And then they can go down there and pick up dog oogies over there at the destination bayfront. That was one of the big draws for that one, Mr. McCampbell. And, you're not fooling anybody. You're a bank vice president, and where would that $2 billion or whatever it was, $2 to $4 billion go? Through what bank? Okay. Anyway, I'll let the audience figure that one out. Okay, so I don't catch the logic in that, folks, that here we've got wind turbines, and they say, they lie, some of the real estate cartel city council members and so forth said the Navy was concerned about it. Well, if you check with the Navy said they weren't. It wasn't going to bother them at all. Okay. Now we've got the different broadcast channels and the real estate cartels trying to stir them up and say, what effects are the wind turbines blades going around and around going to have on reception of TV out there in all the new subdivisions that on the south side? Well, most people, folks, have got cable piped into their house. It's very rare when you see somebody with an antenna that's trying to pick up a signal. It's not going to have a blooming thing to do with the TV reception out there. Okay, so all these mistruths that are being preached around just don't make any sense to me at all. You want a polluting, nasty-looking thing downtown to squelch that development and run off the tourists, yet you don't want those what I think are beautiful wind turbines out there spinning, generating electricity, and you're not putting a whole bunch of pollutants in the air. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to come up with next. So there are many things in this town that just baffle me, and the logic, I just can't figure it out. And then the Caller-Times, of course, is all for shutting down the wind turbines and building houses and stuff out there, because the Caller-Times makes money with the real estate ads in the newspaper and job ads and so forth and so on. So it's a vicious circle around here, and it's all about the almighty dollar. They don't give a damn about your dollars and your tax money. And then, in their infinite wisdom today, the endorsement. The incumbent Farenthold is the best candidate. Now, folks, if that's the best candidate we've got around here, I've got a real hot flash for you. We are in deep trouble, okay? We're going to be drowning in trouble with this. Now, Mr. Farenthold, as far as I'm concerned, is a clown, okay? He pops off when he shouldn't. He doesn't know when to shut up. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Never held, to my knowledge, any military service to this country. And I guess he's also an attorney, okay? Now, here, the justification by this editorial board with the Caller-Times is laughable, okay? Now, here they are. They've got a person who's a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps Reserves. He was a Marine fighter pilot for a long time. Then he's in the reserves at this time. He also is a pilot for Federal Express. Okay, so he's still keeping that up. Got a wonderful family, and he was brought up working on a farm. And I think he's mentioned that his dad was Air Force. And I can't think of a better person to go and represent me. Now, I've heard the man, and he's not rabid on the right, he's not rabid on the left, he's probably right down the center. And I would like for you to write the editorial board and say, well, why didn't you have a little bit more to say positively about Lieutenant Colonel Wesley Reed? For the life of me, I can't figure that out. So they flip-flop, and they want a Democratic governor, which is fine with me. Rick Perry is one of the worst things that ever happened. He's embarrassed Texas to no end with keeping his mouth running. And as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Farenthold is right up there with Rick Perry with his foot in his mouth half the time. But I'd like to have somebody that has a military background come in and take over. Okay? So think about Colonel Wesley Reed when you go for the representative, the U.S. representative in this area. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and support, and I've met and talked with Colonel Reed at length, and he and my dad had a lot in common. My father was a very highly decorated fighter pilot, fought World War II, Korea and Nam, and just passed away a couple of months ago at 92. All right, so, I'd like to ask you to let me know what you think about these various things, okay? And then EPA backs waste disposal efforts. The oil industry praised by an unlikely ally. We'll get into that. And then gas drillers use less water, but still the worry lingers on with that. Now, I did show a picture, and somebody gave me a little flack about this. The Del Mar College Foghorn, it's called, their newspaper, ran an article of the drawing for ballot spots for the Board of Regents. Now, we've got 3 people vying for the at-large position. I mean, 6 of them, okay? And one of them's an engineer, Nick Adami's a chiropractor, Ed Bennett's a certified public accountant, Coretta Graham, I think, is an attorney, Gamby Gamboa is a radiology person over here, tech at one of the hospitals. And then we've got Carol Scott and her PR company, okay? And they've got a large picture of her reaching into the little bucket to pull her number 1 through 6. She pulls 6 out, so she's 6th on the ballot. And then we've got Todd Walter, who's the current District 4 regent, and he's got some Nicole Horton, who I don't know anything about, running against her, and then Guy Watts, who's been at Del Mar as long as I have been. Okay. Now, my question was on one of the shows, why would we pick these two people in particular? And there's no mention, other than their spot on the ballots, there's no mention of any of the other candidates, okay, nor their pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and get a hold of the Foghorn and see if before November 4th, if they're going to have an interview with all 9 of these people, and then publish the do's and don'ts and wills and so forth of all these people, and then show the picture of them, folks, on an equal size. All right. What I suspect over here is Del Mar College has a lot of influence on what's published in the Foghorn, being the Del Mar College newspaper. But I was told that the person that went over there, the pictures weren't all that great when they took them of all the people drawing their numbers out of the box, and that these were the only 2 that came out well, so that's why they published them. Okay. I've got a little bit different point of view of what happened with that, and I don't mind saying anything about it. And then another thing that galls me at Del Mar College is they talk about the Del Mar College sees recent enrollment boost. Now, the enrollment is not what it used to be back in 2011, 2012, and then 2012, 2013, and now. There's a very, very little difference. There's a slight bump this year. Now, one thing that's added in that hasn't really been done in the past are the number of dual credit students. Now, a dual credit student is one that's in high school and can come and take certain courses at Del Mar College and earn college credit for it. And then hopefully they'll come over here and finish up their associate's degrees or certifications in different fields. But that doesn't necessarily hold true. Now, the students have the option of either coming and taking the class at Del Mar College facilities, or a lot of those classes are taught at the high schools that these students are attending. And then when we preach that we need the Southside campus because we're bursting at the seams with students, folks, that's erroneous. Okay, it's not happening that way. I wouldn't say a decrease in about 2,000 students over 4 years average is a bursting at the seams. So there's a lot of leg pulling going on, I guess I should say, with all this stuff and these bonds that we want to get. And 2 of the regents admitted at one time not too long ago that the reason we need the money for East and West is deferred maintenance. And I've seen buildings go up. The roofs leak the first year they're up, and this institution, this administration and Board of Regents members won't go after their building buddies that had made the mistakes and the flaws were done and have them rectified under warranty. It just does not happen. And then when you ignore things, and it gets to be ridiculous. Then if you look at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation information on a lot of colleges around the country, Del Mar College is spending about 1/3 more per student to get them through college than the rest of them are. So are we putting out that higher quality student, which I don't think so, okay? Or is it because of inefficiencies over there in the business building, okay? What are we doing wrong is what I'm trying to say. Now, when I got here 25 years ago, this was probably one of the best and highly rated community colleges in the country. And now I can't even find us on a list. We're so far down. And I do subscribe to the one person who has been saying that we're sliding into academic mediocrity with all of this mess. And then I've got a bone to pick with the Texas Higher Education Board, in that they want to lessen the number of credit hours it takes to get an associate's degree. And what is going to happen is I'm in a battle royal with the nursing department because what they want to do is they want to drop chemistry as from the prereq to take my course in microbiology and then just wipe it out so that you can have an RN graduate that has never had a chemistry course in their life. Okay? Now, try to Try to digest that, folks. And I explain to people, it's particularly my students who have had chemistry when they come to me, that if you don't know how to spell chemistry, you don't know the basics of that, how are you going to keep a patient out of trouble when you inject their veins or whatever, have them swallow chemicals? If you don't know what the consequences are of that, you can't spell it, then that's a quick way to get into trouble. And it's been divulged that, you know, they even had an incident at Del Mar. It was finally admitted to during one of the dismissal hearings over there of Dr. Bennett, that there was a nursing student that administered Mylanta into the vein of a patient. The patient perished, died, and then the explanation was, oh, they would have died anyway. They didn't say 20 years from there of natural death or whatever, but this is the kind of thing that just frightens the hell out of me, folks. I've been around medical facilities on postdoc and so forth and so on, worked with pharmaceutical companies that we hired physicians at and had to train the physicians in the finer arts of a lot of the chemistry and let them know, hey, you know, you need to be careful with this stuff. A student and a nurse and a physician needs to know, as well as a pharmacist, how to calculate dosages. Okay, you take the body weight of the patient, and it's very critical that you have to the last nanogram the proper amount of treatment for that patient, or you're going to do them great harm. If you don't give them enough, then there's certain consequences to that. If you give them too much, then you've got problems there. And then I also bring up the heparin dosages out at the, I think it was Spawn South, several years ago, when somebody miscalculated and gave infants about 100 to 1,000 times higher dose of heparin, which is a blood thinner, than they needed. And that could have been total chaos if someone hadn't paid attention and figured it out. So it's critical, absolutely critical, that any person going into the allied health fields have no chemistry. Okay, so you know, if you know somebody over there at Del Mar, or call your Board of Regents member, more importantly, a local state representative or senator, and let them know to go to the Texas Higher Education Board and say, don't cheapen this up. Don't start taking courses away from a degree. We want to make sure that it's solid, no matter how many hours it takes. And to save 1 hour over the 60 that the state's going to require, Del Mar College is going to drop that chemistry. And I've told Del Mar College, and I've told the world, that I know what I'm doing with teaching microbiology on a chemical basis. Okay, and I'll reiterate, got a PhD in biochemistry and a PhD in microbiology, and I've got a lot of research time in antibiotics and microbial toxins and so forth and so on, the development of different pharmaceuticals, and working with physicians and toxicologists. So I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I don't know, maybe Dr. Sloan can go ahead and straighten everybody out with his great wisdom of all things. Okay, I swear, I think the man could, if I'd strip him down to his birthday suit and blindfold him and have him sit on a scoop of ice cream, I think he could tell me what flavor it was. Okay, he knows that much about everything. So stick that one in your ear, Dr. Sloan. I'm sick of you. I really am. I'm sick and tired of what you do over there and don't do. All right, so I've got that off my chest, so let the lawsuits fly. I've been sued by better people than that in my lifetime. Okay, now, as far as the enrollment goes, it's not what it's reported to be. I just want to tell you, very clearly and succinctly. So I'm going to call the editorial board of the Foghorn and make sure that they interview everyone. I'm also going to see if I can make some more sense out of the pollution around here. Another one that bugs me real bad is this M&G Plastics that came in and said they're going to be the cleanest thing ever for Corpus Christi. Then I read the air permit applications to Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, which is a state governor appointed. That's Rick Perry's rich boys and girls that are appointed to that one, so that they can bend down to any polluting industry that wants to come to town and kiss their fannies and make a bunch of money for, I guess, Rick and all of his buddies. Okay, But they're going to put this thing, the M&G Plastics, over here on 400 acres on the Ship Channel. They came in and said they were going to be the cleanest thing since sliced bread. And then I read those applications and I was horrified. Okay, so why and why do we want to do that right downtown? Again, you know, it's going to be blowing every time the wind comes in from the northwest. It's going to be blowing all over town with all those pollutants. Another thing that happens out there is the city will not pressure the port to cover up those mountains of petroleum coke, which is the byproduct of the oil refinery. Every time it blows, you get that real fine dust, soot and so forth blowing across Donna Park and Hillcrest areas into town. Even across the interstate, people have been, you know, worried about that. So I guess I'm going to have to stir up the Clean Economy Coalition, which we did. We've joined the Citizens for Environmental Justice, and we have filed for a contested case hearing on the air permits that have been filed for by M&G Plastics. And people are all up in a flap about that. Well, you're trying to kill industry around here. No, we need to find out certain facts for sure. That's the only recourse that taxpayers have, is to have a group or groups that will file that contested case hearing, and then we can go into a formal court and with the administrative judges, the state administrative judges, and find out what they're truly going to do and how they're going to clean their act up some more, so we're not in non-attainment around here with air pollution. Because once we hit a certain level, and we're real close now, folks, then your life is going to be miserable, paying for extra gasoline, putting the little boots on it like they do up in Houston, having your car exhaust and all tested every year when you go to get your inspection, and it's going to be very costly around here. And then the word's going to get out to tourists, and you're not going to have many of those that want to come in here and breathe a bunch of particulate matter and you know, other air pollutants and so forth, heavy metals and so forth. So it's a mess. So also get a hold of your city council person and tell them to put the pressure on the port to cover up those mountains of petroleum coke out there and that big mountain of sulfur, raw sulfur that's sitting out there. That can cause a whole bunch of problems. And I guess I've covered just about everything except my disgust with Coastal Bend College, which I'll do next time, and the firing of Dr. Eloisa Garcia up there over some mundane thing just because the president, who's a very vicious individual, and her sister, who is the director of workforce up there, it's called Nepotism Supreme, they didn't like Dr. Garcia. So they take a PhD nurse who's got a certificate in the family practice, or family medicine practitioner, okay? And I don't know what it is this last year. It's been real hard on PhD nurses. Apparently Dr. Bennett and then Dr. Garcia, and I don't know who else they're after. I do have some evidence that maybe the Texas Board of Nursing has been investigating some of the annex down here with this nursing department. I hope not, but you know, every once in a while I get that little snippet when I see that Austin attorney is prepping people for potential investigations down here. And that's the reason they don't want me into those attorneys' billings, folks, because if you got an inkling of what's going on, then you can ferret that information out real easily. I've got about 1 minute and 23 seconds left. I sure hope that I've enlightened you on some of these, and I'm going to tell the truth about who I want as a politician, council person, Board of Regents member, state representative, federal representative, and so forth and so on. So I'm going to turn this off, and then I'll direct you into my email and so forth so that you'll be able to contact me. So I'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. If you'd please notice the email address, it's gsansing@gmail.com. I get some real interesting emails as a result of this show. I hope people, you know, and if you don't agree with me, then let me know. I want to know why you don't agree. And I get a lot of those too. And then I get the typical nasty grams, which doesn't bother me at all. I can handle it. I'm trying to be an adult about things. I do know that at times I make certain people uncomfortable and fearful with my behavior, but you know, I've gotten over all that. And then it's on YouTube, so just go into YouTube and type in Gerald Sansing and you can see the previous shows and the ones in the past. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this timer off and leave about 20-30 seconds left on it, and I'll see you next time.